Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce, and today is Tubi Tuesday, and I'm doing a Tubi spotlight with a brand new director making actually has his first film up on streaming on Tubi right now. Ente. I have Oscar Moreno. Oscar, how's it doing, my friend?
Hey, it's going pretty good. Thank you. Thank you for having me here. Thank you.
I mean, I just got done watching your movie. I definitely enjoyed it. I love the creativity of it. So I'm gonna jump right in. You're a brand new. This is your first film. You're a brand new filmmaker. What were some challenges making your first movie?
Well, first of all, thank you for watching and enjoying the movie. Thank you very much. And it was definitely a series of different challenges. I've been trying. I've been a filmmaker for a large part of my life. I'm pretty free. I've been making movies in some way or form since I was like even younger than like about 7 years old, more or less. But they've all been short films. They've all been like some kind of short films. And then once from a point where I turned like 17, I was like, well, I seriously want to do this. I seriously want to be a filmmaker. So my ever since I just been making a short film per year, more or less, at least one per year. And you know, I think that from that point onwards, I've been also trying to make a feature, and I just went through like different sorts of ideas that just will not materialize. And you end up when you're working on a very low budget level, and when you're pretty much like a high school student or a college student or just fresh out of college, that in itself just brings in all sorts of challenges that you have to be very careful to overcome, and in order to make a feature. And so we hit walls when it came to how many actors can we get, what locations can we get, do we need props, um do we need what do we need that we can actually get. And so we always ended up like facing those kinds of challenges along the way. And then when it came to this film, to Ente, what happened is that, yeah, there were some challenges, but they were all feasible within the resources and my knowledge as a filmmaker now, and with the budget that I'm able to work with now. And a lot of it just involved time. Most of it involved time because um, we pretty much we got together with the actors and we said, well, we probably cannot give you the greatest amount, we cannot pay you as, all like a huge amount or anything. And they were very cool with it because all of them were very passionate about the story. But with that comes a compromise. It comes a commitment that where you say, well, that's okay. Just respect my time. And for me, that was the number one thing, to respect their time, and to if they needed a day off from filming in order to go to work or to tend to a family situation, I they would get it, and they were very cool with that. So, but at the same time, that presents challenges because sometimes, even in a day where we had for filming, sometimes time just runs out. And I think that my knowledge of how to use time when we started filming this was not as good as it was after filming. When you realize, well, we could have spent more time on this shot, or more time on this particular scene, or this or that. So it's all about trying to figure out what's the best way to use the time that you have available. But I think that when it comes to time and with everything, really, the biggest challenge that we had was probably COVID, because we actually shot this movie in summer 2019. And what happened was that we had like a rough edit of the movie by the end of the year, by the end of 2019. And I look at the movie, and we showed it to some people, and overall we had a good reception. But some people made some good points about how to make it even better, how to make it better. And we that came up with some scenes that pretty much involve creating a new first act for the movie, and some stuff that we originally wanted to do for like the second act or so, of the film. And in order to maintain continuity, I thought, well, let's just wait until it's hot here so everybody can be comfortable, wear the same type of clothes that they wore in the last summer. So let's just wait, let's wait until March or so of 2020 in order to help people be comfortable and just shoot, just quickly shoot this as we need to. And the problem is that March 2020 arrived, and with it, COVID arrived as well. So we could not do anything. We were a very, very small production. We were a very small production that could not afford any kind of measures to prevent it. And also, um, I some people in the including myself, some people in the cast and crew, they have relatives who are immunocompromised, so that makes things even harder. We just did not want to face that risk at all. So that delayed filming of the extra scenes for like a year and a half, more or less. And it was a very scary time, because there was all this doom and gloom going around about, well, what our movie's going to look like after, if first of all, if COVID is actually over, what our movie's going to be like? Are we still going to be able to make movies at all? Are we still going to be able to release movies at all? So there were all these questions going around, that they just seemed, it was just a very scary time, and just prompted a lot of questions about the future of the movie and the future of movies, period. Um, However, I just thought, I think that one way to face this would be that I need to work on something. So what I did for like a year and a half was just polish the edit that we have of the movie. Just trying to make it as good as I could make it without the extra scenes. And then the next year, once COVID had passed and there were vaccinations, we finally shot those scenes, and we shot them quickly. We didn't we There were more scenes that we intended to shoot, but I just ended up discarding them partly for logistics, that some of them were actually, because even though it was like September of 2021, things were still not quite perfectly clear, to shoot normally. So we had to work around like we still had to work around COVID restrictions. But by that point, at least we could shoot anything. So there were some scenes that I discarded because of that, and also some scenes I discarded because they just were not necessary. They just were not necessary. And I think that overall the movie works fine without stuff that we were not able to shoot, or that we choose not to shoot at all. So there were definitely challenges, and most of them involved time, but probably the biggest one was definitely COVID in that regard. Yeah.
And I'm letting my fans know you live in Mexico. Now, was this film shot in Mexico?
Yes, pretty much like 99% of it was definitely shot in Mexico. Yeah, there were some scenes that didn't quite make it into the movie that were shot in El Paso, Texas,
Okay.
and some of the stuff like the end credit stuff that was shot in Baltimore. Yeah, and some stuff that we ended up not using the actual footage of it, but just the audio. That was shot in Austin, Texas. So, but like 99.9% of it was shot in Juarez, Mexico. Yeah.
I'm about to say I live in Baltimore. Why did you decide to choose Baltimore?
Oh, that was because my friend Tom, who did the visual effects on the movie, and his girlfriend Carolyn, who did the score, they just wanted, I had this idea for like the end credits, and they said, you know what, why don't we do it ourselves? And I thought, cool, yeah, go ahead and do it. So they were just very game to adding footage. So that was just the result of it. They live in Baltimore, so that just made it click with them. So yeah, that was why, because I work with them from afar, from a distance. And when I told them I wanted to add this for the movie, they said, okay, we could do it ourselves. So that was more than welcome on their part. Yeah.
Okay. So your movie, you decide to so it's filmed in Spanish. Is there a huge um horror following in Mexico?
Um, I would say probably. I mean, it's kind of hard to figure out what the market. I mean, definitely there's a huge amount of horror fans in Mexico for sure. Yeah, there's a huge amount of fans of horror in Mexico. But I mean, this movie, we didn't really do it with that in mind. You know, we like, I'll just say that the strategy between the time the movie was written to the point where it's been released now has, I come to realize a lot of things about the independent film market in its current state, and it's because it's changed a lot in the last 4 years or so, 5 years since we're counting the time the movie was written to this point. It's changed a lot, so we didn't really do it with the intention of, okay, let's make a movie for the Mexican horror market or so on. But it definitely is a big genre. I mean, you go to a horror movie, any horror movie, here in Mexico, it will be packed because people love horror. But I think that's a thing all over the world. You know, people just love horror all over the world. And so yeah, it definitely has a big following, but we didn't make that movie with that intention, with the intention of like, well, we're doing it because there's a huge horror market in Mexico. The problem is that here in Mexico, the terms, everything when it comes to distribution is a little bit stunted, so it's a little bit difficult to make films, especially films at this budget level for Mexico, because you're not quite, it's already very uncertain if a film will be a success or not. But if you are, you're choosing to do for the Mexican market, at least from this point of view, from the micro budget level point of view, it's even more uncertain because it's like, well, what does that look like? Because so many movies have, they're very stunted when it comes to distribution and release. However, I think that has changed a lot in the last 4 or 5 years or so. And I'm just hoping, this have been hoping since streaming kicked in, and unfortunately, I think it hasn't been that beneficial, but who knows? I think that when you have more channels popping out like Tubi or Stream TV on YouTube, etc. I kind of hope that that market grows and that actually allows for micro budget horror to show the same kind of potential and payoff for filmmakers that it's had with American or English speaking cinema, horror cinema in the States, for American and filmmakers from any other English speaking countries. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Now, like I said, I just watched the movie. Great movie. And I love the fact that you decided to film the whole movie in black and white. What was your decision process behind that?
Uh, Thank you. The thing that was really more of a logistical thing than anything else, because we shot a lot of the movie. We shot it around my house, and as you can see, it has this kind of color. Mostly, it's kind of like a very yellowish, very sunny, this kind of tone. And um, I did not like how it looked for the movie. And the problem is that I think that my knowledge in cinematography, a few years ago, was kind of limited about how to work with these types of colors, how to work with the light that was available to me. So I pretty much followed the same trick that Kevin Smith followed for Clerks, and that Christopher Nolan followed for his first movie, Following. That they shot those in black and white because, well, in the case of Clerks, if I remember correctly, it was because Kevin Smith did not like the look of the store that he was working in. But once it was in black and white, it just felt right, and it made it even feel more like almost like a documentary. And when it came to like Following, like Christopher Nolan made that choice because he could work, he could say, well, I can just open a window and have some light in there, and it will look good and it will look moody. And that was pretty much the same thing here. That again, I think that if I made the movie today, I think that with the knowledge I've accrued in the last 4 years or so since I first made it, I think that I would figure out a way to work in color. But considering that we were working with like limited resources back then, and with again, my knowledge of cinematography was limited in a way as well, I think that overall helped the made the choice to make it in black and white, just to make it, just to work, just to make like just to work better with the resources that we had at the time, and also because we probably had a lot of potential to really help the atmosphere of the movie. Just kind of like looking back at some of the black and white movies from like the 50s and 60s, like Night of the Living Dead or Carnival of Souls, those kinds of movies where they were done in black and white at a time where there was already color, but the black and white was what made them memorable, and made like the low budget of those movies add to the atmosphere of the film and made it even scarier. Or something like Hitchcock's Psycho as well, which was shot in black and white, and it's very hard. They made it in color like 30 years later or so, and it just wasn't as effective. So those I think that I thought, well, we're doing this mainly for logistical reasons, but I think that making it in black and white can also be very beneficial to the overall atmosphere of the movie.
Yes, definitely, I agree. Definitely give it eerie. It was always an eerie story, and the black and white just added on to it. So I saw that and I liked that. So tell my fans about Ente. Like I said, I just got done seeing it. Tell them about it.
Well, it's a story. It's a pretty much psychological horror story following two sisters who are estranged from each other, and one of them has become obsessed with uncovering the identity of a supernatural figure that she starts to think that maybe she's responsible for the death of her father. And as they try to uncover this the existence of this supernatural force, it be their relationship begins to unravel even more than it already is, and they start to question each other's sanity and the sense of reality that they have. So that's pretty much it. It's very much a psychological horror story. There is some drama in there about between these two sisters, with some family drama involving these two sisters and so on. So it's very much a psychological horror story that goes along. You start to, along with the main characters, start to question, well, is it all psychological, or is there actually like some sort of, is the supernatural force real? So the whole point is to keep the audience guessing until the very, very end about what's happening.
I agree. It definitely keeps you. There's a lot of pieces in there, and it keeps your attention from beginning to end. And like you were saying, you don't know if it's psychological or if it's an actual spiritual force. So what gave you inspiration to make this movie?
Well, the main idea, so it's kind of started out very different. It was sort of like the thing that clued me in into wanting to make a movie in the first place, is that it started out kind of different. That originally I had written this image popped into my head. I'm very much into urban exploration. I mean, I don't do it myself, but I love watching videos on YouTube about urban exploration. And it sort of like got into like the whole, why do people do that? Like, why are people into that? And there's the whole idea of going to places for nostalgia and all that. And originally, Jessica, who's one of the lead sisters in the movie, she was like an urban explorer. And I just had this very vivid image of her going into like an abandoned video store and finding like a supernatural creature there. And I wrote it as I wrote sort of like an outline, like sort of like a feature outline, and then I talked to my friend Ronnie, who co-wrote the movie with me. And before he came on board, I showed him this because he's someone whose opinion I trust, because he's he loves horror. He's a big horror fan, but also he's a big horror. When it comes to, he has optioned a lot of scripts in the micro budget horror level, and he frequently works in the genre. So I showed him this, and I think that originally the overall concept was kind of different. It was very much almost like I would call it almost like a Guillermo del Toro movie, or like a Hayao Miyazaki movie that was kind of like about this relationship between supernatural creature and Jessica, and then the scary stuff would just keep building up from there. but it was a bit more fantastical. But Ronnie being so savvy about genre as he is, he pretty much told me, hey, you know what? Maybe we could take this into this direction, and we sort of like started to build a character of Eva, the mysterious, the possibly supernatural force in the movie. We started to build on her character, and yeah, from there we just kind of like I pretty much told Ronnie, hey, this movie, I have the feeling it's something that I can actually make. So let's try to like just try to avoid any excesses that um things that I cannot do. We cannot have more than this number of locations. We cannot have like big visual effects. We cannot have like big set pieces or anything like that. Let's try to keep this very condensed. And I think that ended up working in our favor because we tried different approaches. At one point it was a bit more like a slasher movie, and it, so and so we tried we tried different approaches until we ended up with something that I felt that we kind of felt like the psychological horror approach just ended up being very beneficial to it, because not only did we think it made for the best story, but also because we think that it also made for a movie that could be made on the micro budget space. So overall, the idea came from that urban exploration space, and just kind of like between Ronnie and me, just kind of asking questions about nostalgia, about why does it have, especially I think that in younger generations, like why does it have like this so much force now? Like why do we go onto the internet to watch home videos from other people, or why do we watch home videos? And also Eva was kind of born out of that, but also originally it was a different type of character. It was a guy. It was sort of a bit too close to Slender Man, and so it came from that space too. Sort of like that creepy pasta type of figure that is very common to see nowadays on online spaces, and that it's been scary to see the sort of influence it's had on younger, like that case, I forget the names right now, but that case of the kid who murdered, I think it was a girl who murdered her friends because Slender Man told her to, and things like that. So that was really present when we were writing the movie. And what ended up happening is that I thought, well, I'm making this movie in Spanish, I'm making this movie in Mexico, and I started to think, well, what if it was more what if it was a woman who was this figure in the story? We could sort of like give a wink to like this, the legendary figures that appear in like Mexican horror, folk horror stories, like La Llorona and those types of people. And we thought we could tie it in with this whole theme of family, because you have the two sisters who live with their, one of them lives with her mother, and the presence of the mother and the grandmother in the story. We just felt that that combination of all those things just ended up creating this figure of Eva, and kind of like shaping of the themes of the story. The mix of nostalgia, the presence of a woman in Mexican folk horror, and yeah, so it was just a collection of all these things just combined into that we wanted to combine into one story.
Great movie. Great movie. So what's next for you? Any future projects you're working on, Oscar?
Again, thank you. The so I've been thinking about, I'm definitely thinking about the next movie. I think it's still a ways. I'm not. I think it will be pretty different. At least, I mean, we'll see. In looking back on this interview, we'll see if I was right or not. But I'm not, because it will be a different genre. I definitely would love to go back to horror sometime. I almost did with a project. It's just that that project just ended up not working out. But maybe we'll come back, maybe we'll revive, or it will come. I will do another horror movie, but Right now, I'm aiming towards doing a drama of sorts. I thought that it could be there was a specific story I wanted to do, like a specific script I wanted to do that was sort of excited to do, but I'm not quite sure if the logistics that I need to like come together for it will work out for it. So I'm thinking about other stuff right now, but yeah, I don't want to make it sound that I will abandon horror because I'm not. Because again, maybe I'll look back on this interview and say, hey, you know what? I ended up going back to horror, which is great. I will be very happy to. But right now, what's calling to me right now, it's to do a drama of sorts. Like we'll see if it's like a romantic drama or like a very intense drama of some sort. Who knows? Maybe it might even be like a drama with some horror elements, but I think it will be more drama oriented than Ente definitely. But that's what's calling to me right now. But we'll see. We'll see. Still a ways from me. This is a pretty busy year for me when it comes to like promoting Ente and also to on a more personal level. So I'm definitely thinking about it, but it will take a while before things get going when it comes to the next movie. But again, it looks like drama is what's calling to me right now, but it could be horror or it could be something like a thriller. Again, we'll see what happens in the next few months or so.
Okay. Well, when you have your next project ready, please hit me up. I definitely would love to have you back on the channel to promote that as well. So how can my fans find you?
I'm gonna just say probably the easiest one's probably Instagram because the handle is very simple. It's OAMH32. You can follow me there. I'm posting right now stuff related to Ente and so on. OAMH32. Also have my website, but again, my website's only updated like very sporadically. And you go to my Instagram, like the link tree in there just pretty much guides you to everything. So yeah, but the website is inkfilmsinc dot squarespace.com. But again, you can just follow me on Instagram at OAMH32, and that's it. That's pretty much probably my most public channel of communication, and also where I have most updates where when it comes to Ente and other stuff I'm working on. And Ente is available on right now. It's available on Tubi, Reveal, and on Stash TV in Espanol on YouTube. And soon there will be other forms of watching it if those three are not available to to your viewers by any chance.
Also, yeah, guys, definitely check out Ente right now. Like I was saying, it's streaming on Tubi as well as YouTube. Definitely check it out. It's a fun ride. Oscar, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. I look forward to having you back on in the near future. All right, everyone. Well, thank you for coming to Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce. I'm going to see you guys next time. Take care.
Thank you. Bye bye.